Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day?
Hello everyone, my name's Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is October 22nd, 2025. And this is why they call it the disbelief rally. Pretty much anyone and everyone you know in and around cryptocurrency is psychologically capitulating. They're saying, damn it, I should have gone to gold, I should have pivoted sooner, should have been in stocks, should have been in precious metals, I missed silver, yada 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 yada, real estate, all kinds of stuff. Ironically, if you really think about it and you really look around, this market right here, cryptocurrency, right, generally speaking, is actually one of the only macro bottoms that you will see in terms of an investment asset class. Very few macro bottoms out there in terms of investment asset classes. Okay, so a lot of people are going to make the very, very grave error of pivoting from crypto at the bottom to something else at the top, be it a precious metal, stocks, real estate, so on and so forth. This is what you see in psychological capitulation. Okay? Another thing you see is this right here. If you go on social media, you'll see all kinds of similar reactions to the recent price action. Not just the recent price action, the recent years of price action. Okay? People are very tired. They're exasperated. And you should be too. They're angry. They're desperate. They're despondent. They're depressed. Right? Right here, Alex Becker says, to keep your sanity here, you are simply going to have to accept you might hold to zero and stop fighting it. Every sign points to straight ass. Pure burn the boats conviction is what is required to make it to the true bull. LJC says, we literally been in a bear market since Trump took over. Everything he promised was a lie. And again, I said this in a previous episode. When something goes wrong or people perceive things are not the way they should be, they tend to point fingers, okay? When you don't know why, you're like, somebody must be doing something. It must be somebody's fault, okay? Not to say that Trump isn't wrecking the American economy. That's another subject for another day. But these are normal, natural market cycles, and we're going to look at that, okay? Here, Quentin048.eth says, worst cycle in history, okay? And we can go on. One of the worst cycles I've seen for alts so far, Wiz says. I still believe we will have a good Q4 with overall good gains on ETH and some alts, but it won't be like the old days. Not every token will pump. Patience. And last but not least, Lucas says, crypto is dead because there was no payoff for suffering holding alts. And psychologically, that is worse than a crash. Okay, this, I wasn't cherry picking. Literally commonplace right now. This is what you see. This is what people are feeling. This is what people are, just, they want to break free from all of this consolidation. And so we're going to just look really quickly. Before I go into the Bitcoin analysis, I'm going to go backwards today just because it feels right. And I'm going to look at altcoins. Look at what we're dealing with. And I want you to understand that this others chart is an approximation. It's an indicator. So it's not reflective of every altcoin, right? Because here you can see that in 2021, altcoins on this others chart topped. Not every altcoin experienced a 2020 bull run. There were only a few. So think about that. From this peak to where we're at right now, okay, is approximately 1600 days. That is if you were lucky enough to be in 2020 in an asset that experienced a pure parabolic impulse in 2020, then it's been 1600 days since you experienced that. Now, many altcoins did not have a 2020 parabolic bull run, and so just think about how long it was last that they experienced some, proper upside, if ever. Yeah? So I want you to keep that in mind. And this is normal and this is natural. They're market cycles. Please do yourselves a favor if you're really curious, because there's no such thing as perspective in the cryptocurrency space. I've noticed, just being someone that works in this space, people, analysts, they have no clue what these cycles can bring and how long sometimes they take. Look at gold in between 19 what was it? Let me get this right before I just spat off some nonsense. I think it was between 1995 and 2015. Yeah, I think it was. And don't quote me on this, but it was about 20 years. The number 20 years jumped out at me when I looked at the chart last. I think it was 1995 to 2015. Gold did this. So what we're talking about here, this cycle, like down and sideways, gold did a down and sideways, right? So basically a bear market, which consists of the down portion and the sideways portion. That is your complete bear market, right? So the drawdown and then subsequent accumulation. Yeah. Gold did one that lasted 20 years between, I believe, 1995 and 2015. So just think about that. 20 years. That's a normal, natural market cycle. Not everything goes up all the time. There needs to be times where things cool down, and then there needs to be time where people reaccumulate the asset. Buyers buy again. So here, psychology of a market cycle. Whilst you cheat sheet, you can see exactly that. Down. I'm gonna change my pen color just so you can see my annotations here. Let's see. Where can I do this? It's somewhere here. Oh, here. Okay, let's do that. So it's down and sideways. Okay? So down and sideways. This is the down and sideways that you're looking at. I understand, and I said this in the previous episode, that this sideways is a bit up and to the right, but you have to understand, like, these are normal, natural phenomena. They don't always look like what it looks like in the textbook, but you have to understand that the pattern, the general pattern, stands, it holds. So you're looking exactly at that. What you see in the psychology of a market, Wall Street cheat sheet, psychology of a market cycle. This is the bear cycle. The bear cycle is such that, and again, we're looking at the others, which is an approximation of all of the altcoins in crypto. Most of you all watching this are in altcoins, are in pain because you're in altcoins. Most of the assets in cryptocurrency, 99.99999% of them are altcoins. This is why I'm gonna get into the Bitcoin. I'm going to. But I'm talking about altcoins, and altcoins are so important because if you really look, they haven't done anything. This tells you everything you need to know. Down and sideways, 1600 days. And yes, I just told you, gold did 20 years. Obviously, gold is much more mature and has gone through so many more cycles than these cryptocurrency assets. But just for some perspective, sometimes these things take time. And if a 20-year bear cycle is even possible, 1600 days, while painful, you need to understand and put in the context of what these market cycles bring. You do not get these parabolic rallies out of nothing. Understand, the reason we can get parabolic rallies is because we have these long, drawn out, down and sideways accumulations. Okay? So this is exactly what you're looking at. When you went up in altcoins, that was, going in optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria, May of 21. And then, boom, you start going into complacency, ABC flat correction, down to the bottom, anxiety, denial, anger, all over here. And then the anger continues, and the depression for the length of the accumulation, the length of the sideways chop. And then finally, the disbelief rally, seemingly out of nowhere, where everybody was saying, it's never going to happen. This is going to go on forever. It's always going to be a lost cause. There's nothing to see here. There's nothing worthwhile in this space. Let's take our ball and go home. Let's go into some other asset class. I knew it was a fraud. This is why you cannot sell the bottom. Don't be that person that sells bottoms. You need to be bearish when everybody's euphoric. When it's euphoric, and we haven't experienced that in a while. But when everybody's making money, you look left, you look right, there's random projects here and there. People are throwing money at you for just because you know about crypto. Okay? Everybody from the experienced to the inexperienced are earning in every aspect of, I'm doing streams with multiple gold chains, some platinum chains. Maybe I can't even speak clearly because I have all this stuff in my mouth, jewels in my mouth. And I all of a sudden needs to pierce my ears because I need to put my jewels somewhere. That's when you start getting bearish. Not now. When everybody's broke. When everybody's complaining that they haven't made money in a while. This is the opposite. Understand how to trade. Understand the cycles continue. This is not new. This is not unique to cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or altcoins. This is the way of things. Be bullish when pretty much everybody's bearish and pretty much everybody's saying that your industry and your asset class is a fraud. I hope this makes sense. And yes, you turn to the left, you turn to the right. People are angry. They're rabidly angry. And they're depressed. And sometimes they're a combination of both. Understand that that's normal. I'm not saying to say you shouldn't feel that. I'm saying to recognize the signs. And there's a small part of you that should get excited when you see, not to belittle others' suffering, but to see others, yourself even, as, damn, I'm broke as hell right now. I've been in this space and it hasn't done anything for a while now. And actually, everybody around me feels the same. You should get a bit excited. Because if you understand market cycles, if you understand how this stuff works, you understand that that precedes the disbelief rally, the rally into the beginning of all of this. These positive, hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. Okay? Obviously, I rely mostly on technical analysis, but there are certain very profitable and very successful traders that do this psychological analysis uniquely. All they do is look for keywords, and they look around, they look through social media, they scour markets, and they try and get a pulse on how people feel Their emotions. And that's when they decide, okay, this is the part of the market cycle we're in. Everybody's pissed. Everybody's depressed. This is when I'm going to buy. Everybody's happy. Look at people in stocks. Look at people in gold. How happy are they? That's euphoria. Look at the chart. It'll show you just as well. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you a bit of perspective as to where we're at in the market and why you can see me make videos saying, yeah, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. I'm not pulling it out of my ass. Okay? I'm getting it from the technicals and the psychological cues. Right? So now let's look at Bitcoin. What the hell is going on with Bitcoin? All right. I'm on the hourly time frame. And what you can see here isn't some devious manipulation plot or anything like that. This is what you call correction. Okay? We talked about this before. I'm going to show you exactly what we're dealing with. We had this corrective impulse to the downside. We said it was 5 waves. And we were waiting for a move like this, a flat correction, okay? That would complete this corrective bit. So when you're dealing with what I said was likely a zigzag in Elliott wave analysis is a 5-3-5 pattern, okay? This is a 5, this is the 3, and then you get the 5, and that 5 would take us firstly to 90K, our first target to the downside, okay? We haven't finished this yet, okay? Why do I know that with a high degree of probability? Let's actually go on the 4-hourly time frame. If you go on the 4-hourly time frame, you can see this really clearly. Here you have, and don't be too confused. I want you to look at this and for it to make sense to your eyes. This is the first wave up. In some way, shape, or form, this is the B wave. And we have yet to put in this, right? We're dealing with this 3-wave move. Again, 1, 2, 3, something like that. So again, A wave, all this is a B wave. Now, I want you to think dolls. So when you're dealing with corrective price action, Elliott wave, flat corrections, you see this all the time. You see corrections within corrections within corrections. So here you're dealing with likely this A wave. All this is a B wave. And now you're going to deal with the impulsive C wave taking you back to these levels right here, around 116. Okay? And now this is the issue for most people. Most people, especially when your eyes aren't used to seeing this type of price action or reading this type of price action, even when you are used to it. The B wave is what trips most people up because it is the counter correction. It is the most complex one. A wave's easy. It's the initial break. It's usually straightforward. Boom. Initial break of structure, right? We're coming down. Initial break takes you and says, hold up, not ready yet. We're not going to break it quite yet. I've got some things to do. That's the A wave. The C waves, all obviously, also in the same direction as the A wave, but it completes the corrective pattern. The shit in the middle is what gives everybody all the problems in the world, pros and beginners alike. So let's now look at what this is likely to be. So I'm looking, I see in my B wave, this is an A wave. Okay, again, think nested corrections. So I've got an A wave in my B wave. I'm looking here. Do you know what? This looks to me just, and I'm going to go from small and then I'm going to zoom out for a second. But if I'm looking at this, this looks to me like an expanded flat correction. Okay, so to me, this right here looks like an expanded flat correction. So it's kind of like doing a puzzle. You work with the bits that you know that with a high degree of probability you can figure out. And then towards the end, you combine everything together. That's at least how I do it. Like, you know, when you're doing a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle, Sometimes you do a corner because the corners are a bit easier, or you recognize somebody's face and you're putting that together, and you put something else together, and then you find out how the pieces, the groups of pieces fit together. So again, we're dealing with this B wave. In the B wave, I've got this easy. The A wave of the B wave is straightforward. It's the initial break of the B wave. Now here, even though I see that expanded flat correction, my question to myself, what I'm looking at is, what is this going to go straight into a C wave? Is it going to be like, is the extent of the B wave going to be a... So this is it. I don't like, so okay, and this is high level, higher level. It's not high level. This is not rocket science, but it's higher level analysis that I'm going to present here. And I'm working through this with you. I'm actually working through this with you. I'm looking at it and I'm working through this with you. Remember, I'm confused about the B wave. I'm trying to figure out the B wave. Everybody and their mom knows that A wave, C wave, easy. The stuff in the middle. The A of B is easy. Okay? The A wave of the B wave is easy. Now, I need to figure out if the B wave is finished, and then we can go to a C wave. The B wave has to be finished, and the B wave only finishes, just like any corrective pattern, in an impulse. So my question is this the end of the B wave? Or is this going to do this, and the B wave going to end like this somehow? Does that make sense? I hope that's not too confusing. And the only reason I posit that is because the A wave of the B wave went down to here. So the C wave of the B wave, to me, has to come down a little further. To me, this in scale doesn't, I don't like this as A, B, C. I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not true. I'll tell you, with all my experience and I've been tricked by these fucking B waves so many times. So that's the kind of experience I'm speaking to you from. Like the experience of getting your ass kicked by these patterns time and time again. I'll tell you this, with a high degree of probability, here's what's happening. I'm gonna put it in now, and I hope this isn't boring. I don't know. I think this is fun. But I hope this isn't boring, because if you figured these out, it feels so good. All right. I'm going to do these in different colors, so hopefully it's not disorganized. So again, A wave, we get it. B wave, something like that. C wave, boom. So everybody's like, yo, what about Bitcoin? I think it's going to drop now. I think it's done now. It's going down to 90K, your next target. No, not yet. And the reason is because I know for a fact that we're still in all of this B wave mumbo jumbo. So A of B, let's do these different degrees. So this is A of B. I'm going to make it a different color. And to me, I'm not finished yet. I'm going to make this yellow. I still need a move up, then a move down. Because to me, I'm seeing that we're still in B of B. So yellow is B. We're still in the B wave of yellow. We haven't even gotten to the C wave of yellow. Does that make sense? Everything is a three-wave movement, but there's a bunch of nested corrections, which makes it super confusing, and most people are like, what the hell is this? This is manipulation, blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin's doing, or Binance is doing this, CZ is doing that. Look at charts enough, you'll see it all the time. It's just exactly, this is part of the game. This is how frustrating and difficult things can get. But to me, I'm looking and I'm seeing that this expanded flat probably ends like this. And so you're dealing with A, B, I still need my C of B. My yellow is still needs probably a move up here, and then a move back down, and then a move back up. So don't be surprised. Long story short, and this is, speculation. Don't be surprised if you get a bunch of this. So basically Bitcoin ends up going up, down, and then back up again, which will make a lot of people say, oh no, this is total manipulation. This is a total, this doesn't make any sense. And a lot of people are going to be like, we're bullish. Oh no, we're bearish. Oh no, we're bullish again. They're going to get so confused. Meanwhile, altcoins are going to use that opportunity to make their big moves, to retrace, and then make another big move. I see, based off of what I just laid out, in altcoins, big move up, a sizable move up. Let's call it that. Sizable move up, a sizable move down, a big move up, and a bigger move down. Meaning, you should expect some volatility from altcoins, and the bullish alts will give you at least two good moves to the upside, the second of which is sizable, much larger than the first. That's what I get from this chart right here. Because remember, Bitcoin sets the trend. Right? I know this was super advanced, like nested Elliott waves, nerdy stuff, but I think there's a real practicality to doing these kinds of exercises, because it gives you a bit of space to understand just how altcoins can do what they're likely to do, given that Bitcoin is pretty much capped at 116. So how do you explain Bitcoin being capped at 116, yet altcoins needing to go up and down and up again and stuff like that? It doesn't make any sense, but there, with this explanation, with this price action, it makes a little more sense. And last but not least, I'm going to show you the Bitcoin dominance chart, which, if you've been following it, hasn't really changed since we've last spoke. Actually, for the past about 10 days it's been about 10 days. Almost exactly 10 days. You've been in this right here, this counter correction. Okay? This is an up and to the right counter correction. It's a rising wedge. These obviously break up, but more often than not, they break down. You're looking at trend, counter, counter. Expect to go into the trend. It's not if, it's when. That is pretty much what you're dealing with. It just keeps going and going and going, and it seems like it'll never stop, but eventually it does and breaks down. That's where you get your big move in altcoins, your first big move in altcoins. And I think you get a bit of a bounce at this level, right? Because look, all of this is a rising wedge, the target of which is the base of the wedge. That's probably your first target, and then you bounce a bit, and then your second target. And that follows with what I just said, right? So you get an initial move, initial retracement, a larger move, a larger retracement in altcoins. All right. And again, the bullish altcoins are not going to make a lower low, but the bearish ones will, especially on this move right here. That's my thesis. Two moves, the first being smaller and the second much larger, based off of this price action before Bitcoin breaks down to 90K. That's why I'm seeing it. That's what I'm seeing. That's why I'm seeing it. Guys, if you got value, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider joining my crypto portfolio mentorship and consultation service, where you can trade directly with me. You pretty much have 24/7 access to me via email, up to 2 hours, video chat monthly, and I help you choose the bullish altcoins that are likely to, go into this disbelief rally, create higher highs, higher lows, and give you bull market results. And so yeah, we choose up to 5 altcoins, and then we analyze those altcoins over time and periodically give high probability support and resistance levels so that you can maximize your portfolio. So that's Crypto Portfolio Mentorship and Consultation. You can sign up to that using the pinned comment below. And then I also have a single asset analysis service where if you're curious as to what I think about silver or gold or Tesla or whatever, crypto, it doesn't matter. Any single asset, pay the fee, send me an email. Within 24 hours, you should have that pre-recorded analysis. And you can even ask some follow-up questions. So that's it for me. Hope this was good for you. And keep your chin up, keep your head up. Remember where we're at, what we're doing. I know it's so hard, but you'll thank yourself. You'll thank yourself. So that's it for me. Take care. Bye.
I vocalize, too deep to localize, even when I'm right on the surface. You act surprised how I work this, but I can't lie. Many a good alibi. I'll catch you later. Visions are vividly enhanced with emphasis and amethyst to develop morale advantages which help us manifest magnanimous. We body vitals like evangelists. So listen when you're dealing with people who be revealing premonitions with precision. At least that's what I'm aiming at for now. I speak the language of the world, meandering throughout the crowd. Used to feel safe to say anything, but now it's a risk. It's hard for me to let go when all I can do is reminisce. Gone like the wind, here's where I begin. Should I smile or should I grin?